everybody, happy Thursday, welcome to my channel. I hope everybody's having a good week. It's almost Christmas next week. Today we'll discuss my favorite topic, Russia. However, today is an important day. December 17th, President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, held his annual conference. December 17th is a significant day because it is also the Russian holiday for the Russian rocket and individuals who work in the defense pertaining such things as hypersonic weapons and everything like that. Today, Minister of Defense of Russia, Sergei Shoigu, announced that everybody is doing well and he congratulated his staff pertaining to this holiday. Also, another day today is that Belarus closed all its borders, including air and land. However, it's not disclosed what is the reason behind it and why Lukashenko exactly did it. It is not the coronavirus. I just want to specify that. As you know, Belarus had a lot of tumultuous time. However, this video is not about Belarus. It's about today's press conference, and it just wrapped up, and I wanted to give you all the highlights about it and see what you think, and also some other interesting facts that were happening behind the scenes today. So first and foremost, the first question of the Putin's press conference was from Vladivostok. The journalist from Magadan, Lyudmila Shabakova, asked the president about the main character of this year according to the Time magazine. The question was it bad or was it something good? Putin replied that there was pros and cons. And of course, 2020 has been a very challenging year with coronavirus pandemic roaring around the world. It has created a lot of quarantines, business closures, a lot of economic downturn, quite a few significant deaths. Also, there have been some significant situations that happened around the world. So yes, this was pros and cons. As far as Russia, Putin believes that Russia adequately handled coronavirus. Even though, from my perspective, I've read somewhere else, the numbers are downplayed significantly by Russia, but nevertheless. Also, there's a drop in GDP of 3.6% in Russia. Actually, it is a little better than US and European Union is doing right now. However, US had a lot of different issues this year too outside of coronavirus. It is an election year for US. There was also severe issues with civil rights when actually George Floyd died while during arrest by police. This case is still ongoing. However, it doesn't exclude the fact that Russia did have significant downward spiral and there has been very difficult times. However, Russia has been providing subsidy to its citizens. It is similar what Canada did, except in Russia it was given a large chunk of money. Every Russian got 60,000 rubles, pretty much, well, almost a Russian. I'm not talking about pensioners, but working age people, they got about 60,000 rubles per household. And to make it a comparison, the average income of an average Russian is about 12 to 15,000 a month. So 60,000, this equals about a 4-month salary for some, and especially for the needy ones, it gives them a lot of opportunities to have certain provisions in place. That was one of the Russian things that Putin did. And like I said, Canada has been providing monthly support in regards to Canada's recovery benefit for certain people who qualified, who either lost their job because of COVID or their income decreased to 50%. Below 50%, sorry, and they had to make less than $1,000 a month in order to qualify for the subsidies of the government. However, it is a taxable income. In Canada, it's still considered income and you'll be issued, obviously, and you'll have to pay taxes. Anyways, back to Russia. So, what about Russian Sputnik V vaccine? Putin said he's very confident. I'll be doing another video discussing Sputnik V vaccine in great details because there has finally been a release how it actually works fully, because there weren't disclosure available in the first place when there was an announcement of Sputnik V being approved and skipping the third and most important trial period. The same was done for Pfizer and Moderna because under emergency measures, Pfizer was approved in US, Canada, and UK without having the final testing. So that was not different what Sputnik V did in Russia. But nevertheless, that's what the discussions of the conference are. According to Putin, Russia was better prepared for the pandemics than many other countries. He also stated that he bought time to start operational preparations, began to quickly deploy the health system and everything related to the fight against the pandemic. The main clinic in Moscow that handled the first wave and continues to handle a lot of coronavirus waves is Kommunarka. And actually, the head doctors there had coronavirus and recovered. There's also another field hospital set up outside of Moscow for additional COVID patients. And this was done for the second wave, according to the news. Putin also stressed the adoption of amendments pertaining to the constitution. This was a big one this year. On July 1st, Putin's proposed amendments passed, and they have been implemented slowly. Well, I mean, actually pretty rapidly if you consider that. And a lot of them include the new situation where Putin is allowed to run again in the next presidential elections. He could stay in power until 2036. Additionally, there's also have been a lot of different scenarios pertaining to different changes. Like, for example, the Foreign Agent Act, which is very different. It would actually apply to regular citizens, anyone who has any type of foreign funds coming in, even if like transfer by PayPal and everything. I've done a video previously about that. I'll post a link below if anybody's interested watching that. So there's a lot of questions about State Duma, of course, and participation in a presidential race that will be upcoming in 2024. Putin stressed that the adoption amendments to the constitution, it wasn't any different, as in changes needed to happen in Russia. He stated if the people want him, he will consider running in 2024. He did not say yes or no, however, he did not say no, and highly likely he will do that anyways. So the whole series with Navalny and his camp, he was the opposition individual who was poisoned in August and currently resides in Germany, is debunked pertaining to Putin having Parkinson's and he'll be stepping down in January. That was just another type of news and social engineering and propaganda by that camp. And another thing is, and Putin was asked about Navalny's poisoning, of course, because that topic came up. And what he exactly stated, the patient has the support of foreign intelligence services. There's not investigation, but the legalization of materials of the American Special Services. Who needs a Berlin patient to poison him? If they wanted to, they'd have brought it to the end. It is necessary not to achieve recognition from people by using coercion and dishonest methodology. When it comes to Navalny, there's something interesting that has been surfacing today as well. One of the very known Estonian bloggers who has a very successful YouTube channel with thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of viewers, did a video today that he's been attacked by Navalny camp because he does not support Navalny. And the sponsors who support anybody who doesn't support Navalny has been contacted. A lot of Instagram pages have been crashed today by pro-Navalny team. And what is interesting about this blogger specifically, he's not Russian, he's Estonian. He's openly gay. He has resided in Western Europe for many years. His education is actually from Czech Republic in film industry and everything like that. And he was severely attacked today by Navalny camp online, harassed, bullied, and everything else. So that makes me ask a question. Either Navalny had such severe side effects from poisoning that he actually thinks it's okay, or he thinks he's going to be future Tsar of Russia when Putin leaves in 2036, because Navalny is significantly younger. Navalny, I believe, is 44 now. And what is interesting about that, while the West is supporting him, I would like to pause and ask a very serious question. I understand he's a tool now, but there's one serious question that I have. Anybody who studied history or knows about political history in general, the same thing, and I hope it does not happen. It happened in Guyana. The West was backing Forbes, Gershom Forbes, and once he got in power, he made people suffer significantly. A lot of people from Portuguese descent, Chinese descent had to leave Guyana, come for Canada and other countries because they're no longer considered to be safe. So there were serious repercussions for them. And Forbes also turned his back on his Western allies who actually supported him and got him in power and caused severe turmoil for Guyana in general. I hope it's not going to be the same scenario as Russia while somebody's betting on Navalny, even though I truly believe Navalny is not a strong enough leader to actually become a president of Russia. But nevertheless, please watch out, because while he's having his Schengen visa renewed, staying in Germany, and EU is very pro-LGBT community and tolerance, and where we live in a democratic society where we tolerate each other and accept each other, and we should have equality. The person is being attacked just because he does not support Navalny. And also, interestingly enough, his channel is not even political news. His channel is a lot about celebrity information. I watch it myself because I like his information pertaining to celebrities, and it is very light, something to watch. But nevertheless, this is what's been happening. Also, the same been reported by some other bloggers who are in Baltic states that have been attacked. Their sponsors have been attacked and their pages crashed by pro-Navalny supporters, including serious harassment and threats. They were reported to YouTube today. However, this situation is just developing because, as I said, the press conference just wrapped up. So additionally, there's also a lot of questions pertaining Russian hackers, because this has been on the news a lot too. Just this week, Washington Post accused Russia of being behind the hack over the weekend of last weekend of U.S. Treasury and the information that was leaked. It was also, Google had a disruption too, which I did another video. There has been a lot of discussion that possibly Russia was behind the disruption, because YouTube has been censoring a lot of Russian channels, including Tsarograd, which is Russian Orthodox channel, and there was a few news channels like Anna News that got censored as well. Even though their content, I do agree, was more of a propaganda content, but nevertheless, I mean, YouTube is a private enterprise where people can do it as far as how they like to run their business, because it is a business at the end of the day. So this was one of them. So as far as the Russian hackers, according to the news conference, the star of the conference was the general director of RTV, which is a very significant Russian, or also there was also, of course, Dmitry Peskov, and he asked about the question about the hackers, and Russia denied being behind the hack. At this time, it has not proven or disproven that Russia was behind it. The other players who could have been behind it is China, North Korea. There's a few nations who like to deploy cyber warfare, and China has been known to steal information because US and China have been having tensions. There's trade war under Trump. Also, clearly China is responsible for coronavirus and all the above, so China would have a stake in the game. However, I'm not deflecting from the fact, because Russia could have possibly did it, and I'm not even denying that, but I just wanted to give a fair perspective when it comes to this. Also, there's also a patriotic part of the conference, which of course has always been a component for Russia. He said that the biggest thing is to have love in Russia, and he said the secret to happiness is being loved, and everybody knows that even though Putin does not disclose who his wife actually is, I'm not gonna provide that information on my video, but everybody who follows knows exactly who his wife is, and he has children with her. She's significantly younger and everything else. However, when it comes to the Soviet Union and Russia, Putin never discloses it publicly. He keeps his private life, even his grown children and grandchildren, under wraps. There's never that much information that comes out from that. So there was also, of course, after the press conference, there was a big question period. And some of the questions that were raised is that Russians complain about the lack of proper medical care, the delay in payments for the doctors, the lack of allowances, the cleansing process, because this is one thing. Outside of Moscow, and this is has been a horrific scenario, if you end up being in a hospital and have to stay over for a certain type and inpatient care, a lot of times you have to wash floors, clean everything, and sanitize the floor. For example, mothers with sick children who are staying there, who are staying with their children, unless it's ICU where parents are not allowed, they have to wash the floors. They have to clean the hospitals themselves. There's no staff to do it. There's nothing available. You even have to buy your own bed sheets a lot of times. This is how bad it is outside of Moscow, which people don't even realize. And while all the politicians and everybody's talking about poisonings, hacking, or Navalny, who has, assets, millions of dollars and everything like that, the people outside of major cities like Moscow, St. Petersburg, big areas like Sochi, Krasnodar, Novosibirsk, bigger cities, they barely have gas or even electricity in some places. And obviously medical care is lacking. So that was one of the pending questions. And also, but there is hope, there's changes coming, because under this new amendments, everything will be centralized now. The governors will have a certain role, but at the same time, they'll no longer be able to make decisions. All decisions in Russia will be made centralized. So local regions, and this is the reason behind it, and I'm not saying those amendments are good in the Constitution, but the difference is it'll be controlled centrally. So now, when it comes to this type of scenario, at least there's a possibility that the funds are not going to be taken, and there's actual possibilities that people will actually have something now where they wouldn't have to clean hospitals. But then again, so another question that arose too, which were of course asked after the fact, but I thought they were interesting, and I only do highlights because the press conference was very long and I don't want to do super long video. I just want to give concise information with everything that was said. So there was a question, of course, about Putin's former son-in-law and other investigations where Putin called information stuffing. Is the material of the publication important stories about Putin's former son-in-law of the president Kirill Shamalov, whose company, after marrying the daughter of Putin, of course, it's not confirmed she's his daughter because, as I said, everything is classified, but at the same time, really it was. He bought shares worth $380 million for $100. There's still investigation and question about that, even though Putin calls the story to be untrue. At this time, I'm not surprised about anything when it comes to Russia. So, I mean, anything like that can happen. Anybody who has a lot of money in Russia usually is a corrupt. That's why I was saying the same about Navalny. If you have millions of dollars, either you've been paid for something which is not Russian, or two, you're corrupt. And before Stu, I'll put it together. He is trying to raise and collect money for causes that he does not actually spend money to personally have a huge financial advantage. I'm not saying any side of that because I don't want to get into a scenario of slander of any sort, but this is how Russia operates overall. So now it comes to the case of Ivan Safronov. The question about the criminal prosecution of a former journalist of Kommersant. He was arrested this year under charges of treason. His father died of very suspicious deaths in the end of 1990s. He actually has been a journalist, and suddenly this year he was offered a job with Roscosmos just 3 months prior to arrest. And highly likely it was a setup, because usually journalists have immunity and it would have been frowned upon if that happened in Russia. Rogozin, who is actually in charge of Roscosmos, has been known to set up people to do such things. However, before they were not published, but it has been a lot discussed in social media because apparently there's a lot of stuff about Rogozin that he only takes orders. He does not make any decisions as it is, and also there's been significant stories about him. Therefore, like I said, it was highly likely Safronov was set up. And the only stories that put possible retaliation against him, he made a story pertaining weapons and certain type of equipment going to Egypt, and it almost caused an international scandal. And I think this was retaliation for that, because it's very known in Russia that retaliation politically, that's a very common thing. So, and that question was asked by one of his ex-colleagues, because Kommersant is a very popular paper. Even myself, I do once in a while read their certain topics because they do have great investigative journalism, and a lot of times they're actually not biased, and they try to do the best under Russian media conditions to give the news as credible as possible and work on great stories. And in Russia, that is dangerous because you can lose your life, not physically being, well, you could get murdered too. But now the common sense is you're going to be charged with something, and it's going to be treason or such heavy charges that eventually either you will commit suicide or be helped to suicide, or you rot in prison for a long time. And maybe if you grovel enough to Putin, like Khodorkovsky he finally got pardoned in his sentence and he was released, and his sentence was commuted. But that's, like I said, that's how it works lately. So as far as the answer, according to the president, the prosecution is connected with a fairly long period of his work and within the framework of an assistant of advisor to Dmitry Rogozin. Again, I said he was in that position for less than 3 months. So significant investigation when it comes to counterintelligence operations, especially. If you're charged with treason, usually either you have to be caught in the act, you have to be set up in the act, and it has a long time the trail. Counterintelligence does not operate on jump and arrest and everything like that. It's a common practice around the world. So it does take time. So obviously this is actually incorrect and dishonest and does not serve an accurate picture. So therefore they were trying to get him while he was a journalist. Therefore his rights have been violated as it is. Also at the same time, Putin of course had to clarify himself within a minute, because I said him being from a former KGB background, he realizes what he said. So he clarified himself a little, without saying it's a clarification, of course, that he was not accused of working as an assistant to Rogozin. I said that the episodes of his activities, which the investigations considers illegal, are not connected to his work as a journalist in Kommersant, but with a fairly long period of his life. Well, let me rephrase that. The gentleman that's actually sitting right now in jail is actually in his 30s. So what long life are you talking about? He's been a journalist for over 10 years, 3 months tenure as far as Rogozin Roscosmos is concerned, and also the fact that, let's say it, at 15 years old, he clearly wasn't involved in state secrets. Now, let's be very realistic, and he's not involved in programming. I mean, yes, there's teenage hackers, but he's never been involved in anything like that. So at the same time, in his case, he keeps saying that a case of ex-journalist is a betrayal to Russia, but again, he didn't qualify that, and everybody knows in journalistic community, and everybody's been asked for support, because in all honesty, there's nothing that happened. That's Trump type situation. Another question that came up was the case of Sergei Frugal. If you have been following Russian politics, and it's a big one, he was part of Zhirinovsky party, LDPR. He was the leader of the Khabarovsk that was suddenly removed and accused of plotting murders from almost 15 years ago. And there's a statute of limitation in Russia pertaining to murder and actually able to charge with murder, which is actually, depending when it was realized and everything, the latest you can charge somebody is 17 years. This is the latest you can possibly charge someone. But usually the time frame is within 15 years. So again, and they allowed him to run, especially since he's an oppositioner. If something like that came up before, and obviously from that would mean that happened close to like 2005, that surely Putin's crew and KGB and now of course GRU and FSB would have known that long time ago, because we know that's trumped up. And that question was asked by Oksana Kiselova from the Prama Media in regards to what's happening to Frugal. Putin said that he had good relations with Frugal, which is actually exactly not true. Putin's party, United Russia, was demanding Frugal to do certain things. And the reason why he got so much support, because he was actually doing a lot for the people of the region. Because that region is a very cold climate, and there's a lot of problems that arises and economical issues that arises in that area. And he's done a lot for people. So actually having good relationship with him, it's completely to be untrue. But what he stated right after, but the accusations against him are very heavy. We're talking about killing people, not about fraud or abuse. Of course, because he's inconvenient, and this is what happened. He keeps saying the investigation is still ongoing and everything like that, so come on now. Again, like I said, that was a dishonest answer as it is. Now, he was of course asked about the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, because it was escalated this fall thanks to Turkey, of course, and Russian peacekeepers are actually in the region now. They signed a deal pertaining to being there and enforcing peace, so they'll be there for at least close to 5 years if it's not going to be renewed. So as far as the question was asked and answers, Putin believes that the conflict flared up for many years, and obviously it has been ongoing conflict. This is not a new conflict. And it's about the territories, even though UN recognizes those territories being Azerbaijani, given the historic angle of it, there's a lot of scenarios. I've done videos on it. If anybody's interested, I can leave a link for that as well. I'm not going to get into that discussion in regards to press conference. Putin also stated that Russian interest in this conflict is to come to an agreement without a bloodshed. The big goal is to fix the situation and to leave it status quo, which actually obviously that conflict is not going to be resolved at all. And of course there's always gonna be a situation when it comes to anything to do with those specific regions. There's also Abkhazia. That area always had historic conflict, bloodshed. It has been known for a long time, and it has certain remnants of it is part Ottoman Empire time, part of it is during Russian Tsar times. There's certain regions that belong to different areas, so I'm not going to get into that historically as well, but again, the conflict is not resolved. So those are the main highlights which are important for the conference that Putin did annually for the people. And of course, like I said, I just highlighted the main ones. There's a lot of domestic questions which would not really be of interest to the Western audience. And that's all I wanted to point out for today. So I would love for everybody to click like. Please subscribe to my channel. Also, you can read my articles on the Kristina Kitova communalnews.com. And I would really appreciate, of course, sharing my video. I would love comments. I would love to have a discussion. If anybody has anything to add, what does everybody think? Was the conference predictable? And anything of the above. Well, thank you for watching. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. And again, stay safe.